Good Saturday evening to everyone. It is good to see you and it is good to be seen by you. I, of course, am the one and only Bill Sylvie, aka the Dungeon Delver, coming to you live, loud and clear on a Saturday evening. And I hope you guys are doing well. I'm doing just spiffy. I'm doing A-OK and all right. Welcome. Welcome to the show. Whether you are just stopping by, or for the first time, or you are a longtime subscriber, I'm glad you're all here. We have got a fun show for you this evening. Before we get into that, I want to apologize again unreservedly for having to dip last night without a live stream. Things were not good here. Things were the opposite of good, which is bad. So thank you everyone for your patience. And again, from the bottom of my heart, I apologize for not being able to stream at you guys yesterday. David Mills, no, that did not happen. They're protected species here in Florida anyway, so I can't do anything about them. Wheeling Dragon, good to see you as always. Doc Flamingo, John Collins, Jeff, the greatest dungeon master alive, David Mills. Hello to you all. I want to take a quick reminder and ask you guys, if you haven't already, please click the subscribe button and please click the bell icon for notifications about when I do these fun little get-togethers, because most of the time I'm actually able to make them happen, unless what happened last night happens, which involved an inch of water all over my floor. I don't want to really discuss it anymore. I've still got still got a little bit of battle fatigue over that. So I'll tell anyone who wants to hear about it, but on some other platform, not here live. So yes, subscribe button, bell icon for notifications, all sorts of fun things happen. Of course, if you are interested in merch, guys, we have merch links below. You can check that out. And if you're interested in having the best piece of computer software for character management, for governing your first edition AD&D characters from inception to retirement, where you can control their age, you can change their stats, their alignment, you can dual class humans, you can dual class half elves if you're going to become a bard. Check for psionics, come with pre-built spell books for higher level characters, or any of that fun stuff. Check out Crom. You can email me, bsylvie@gmail.com, for the character record organizational manager software. It is a peach of a little program, and folks seem to like it. I've gotten some good feedback on Crom, and that is available for Windows 8, 8.1, 10, and 11, 8 and 32-bit. And guess what? It runs under Linux through Wine. I am very happy to report that it does, in fact, run through Linux under Wine. You can save your characters as text. You can save them as HTML. And swap them around, share them around. It's a great little program. And if you're interested in not just generating a character, because you can find any number of programs that'll let you do that, but managing a character, governing your character, leveling your character up, whether it's milestone, whether it's incremental with XP, however you want to handle it, multi-class, single class, any class, race, alignment combinations available in the first edition player's handbook are programmed into Crom for ease of use. So let me know if you're interested in that. Michael Connor, I'm very glad. I'm glad you enjoyed that bookstore. It can be a little tricky to navigate sometimes. Well, no, it wasn't the worst possible, but it was still pretty awful, Daniel. Good evening, great old ones. So the last little bit of business I want to get out of the way before we have our guest on, guys, is, and I said I'm going to do this on every stream, and I am going to do this on every stream between now and the beginning of October. We are doing a drawing for 4 Christmas gifts in December. It's all the same thing. there's 4 copies of it, as it were. The drawing is open to patrons and channel members who subscribe between now and the 1st of November. That is the window you have left to become a patron or a channel member for as little as $1 on Patreon. That's the best value. Or $2 as a member on YouTube. That's as low as I can set my YouTube memberships. That will get you automatically entered into the drawing. I will reveal on October 1st what it is for. But trust me, you're going to want to get in on this, because this is going to be utterly unique and may be your only chance ever to own what I am about to give away. And we will do that drawing on Christmas night, me and Mrs. the Dungeon Delver, right here. You guys will know what it is in October, and you're going to love it. But subscribe up, or membership up, or Patreon up, and get in there and don't miss it. Oh, Doc Flamingo, you spoiled it. You spoiled it. Doc Flamingo's got it right out there. Yes, their prices are very high, Michael Connor. And by the way, speaking of Doc Flamingo is our guest this coming Thursday. We're going to talk about Age of Blood and Iron. But tonight, we have a guest that I'm really super duper excited about. I'm excited about all of my guests, because tonight's guest is, just by dint of name alone, one of the founding personages in Dungeons and Dragons. If you've ever wondered why your dungeon master, or how your dungeon master managed to throw a magic item at you that didn't turn out to be magical, it's this guy. It's his fault. Blame him. But there's so much more than that, and I'm going to gush about a lot of that, like an fanboy. So without further ado, I want to welcome on tonight's guest, who's been patiently sitting in our green room, hopefully enjoying the schnapps and baklava. Everybody, please welcome gaming luminary, designer across so many realms and so many systems. It is my great honor to present to you Mike NYSTUL. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Good evening to you. How are you, my friend?
The baklava was amazing.
Thank you very much. We sourced that at a local bakery. But welcome to the show. Now let me ask you, do you prefer Mike or Malix?
So I was born Mike NYSTUL.
Okay.
But when I was growing up, Michael was every third person's name.
Okay.
So I acquired a distaste for Michael, just because in school they would call Michael 38 times. So eventually I started going by Alex. I was Alex Gray for a long time. I wrote a Pokemon book under Alex Gray. I was known as Alex Gray. Finally, when my dad passed, I went back to Mike. But friends at the Scarefrick here haunted house put together Mike and Alex and came up with Malix. And at first I kicked back against that because it felt a little forced. But it's not a self-inflicted nickname. It's Michael Connor, Troy, sorry. It's what they called me. And because I go by Wandering Wizard, Malix was like, why am I fighting this? It kind of fits. So I'm making an effort to use it more because it is distinctive and it's more uniquely me. And it was given to me by friends.
Well, there you go. I like it. I mean, hey, we get we get handed stuff our whole lives that we just like, well, I guess I got to go with that. So, I think you hit a point where you can choose which road you want to walk down. And I'm so glad you're strolling down with us this evening. So, I feel like we gotta kind of talk about the obvious thing here when it comes to it, because when So this is weird, and this is a little, back in the 80s, 90s, and even very early 2000s, it wasn't like, oh, I can just dial this up on the internet and find out information I want to know.
Right.
So, I mean, we had Usenet and BBSs, but by and large, there was stuff that was just a little like, that's a little inside baseball. So when I was reading, all the way back to 77 or 78 with a player's handbook, and of course, I see your name in the thanks and Nystul's Magic Aura. And then 15 years later, I jump into playing Mech Warrior, the board game, not the game. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess Mike Nystul is a common enough name. And you, of course, just let us know that you were the commonality kind of was kind of chafing a little bit. So I was like, I guess the odds are pretty good. There's two, but you're the same guy. So you came in right at the beginning of AD&D. Tell us a little bit about that exogenesis, how it came to be that you landed feet first in the midst of the amazing chaos that was Dungeons and Dragons, Lake Geneva.
So it's a tiny bit of a story time thing, but I'll try not to be long-winded about it. I was very young, so any of this that sounds like a flex, it's only a flex because my parents were involved. I was not making choices. I was preteen or younger. My dad was involved in theater, and he ran a theatrical lighting company. And he was one of the guys that installed the lighting in the Playboy Club in Lake Geneva. So Lake Geneva was one of the locations of the very early Gen Cons. Not the first. I think the first was the college, but I think the second venue was the Playboy Club.
Okay.
And walking through the halls, he was always the Lord of the Rings fan. So he saw things like early Partha orcs and Dragon. What's the name of the company? Dragon Tooth,
Grenadier, Partha.
Dragon Tooth, I remember being evocative, but real chunky. So they were like barely what they were supposed to be.
Yeah.
So he friended that. Through that, he found out about D&D and that kind of gaming. He had always been a grognard. So he played counter-based war games. And he actually had a play-by-mail game on his wall that took over a year. That was, nice. It was like Terrible Swift Sword level counter pushing by mail, which took forever. So through that, he became involved with Len Lakofka. So if people don't know who Len Lakofka is, Leomund, one of the named wizards in Greyhawk, was Len Lakofka's character. So I talked to people about this like ripples in a pond, right? So right at the middle is Gary and people close to Gary and their game groups. So you got Arnsing, Gary, so forth. Then all of their friends and people they played with. Then various people moved. So second ripple out from the drop of the coin, right? And one of those ripples was Len moved to Chicago. When Len moved to Chicago, I believe to work at Francis Parker College. His game group was my family. He had befriended my parents, and eventually we were allowed to play as well. Len didn't love kids as a general rule, but eventually we became very close. So we played. My GM was Leomund, and over those initial few years, Len was involved with the development of AD&D. So one thing that I think my brother still has is a full, what's the thing with the punching on the side where you print? And it's got
the tractor feed.
Tractor feed. He's got a tractor feed of the first monster manual ever. Like it's a tractor feed printout of it. Yeah, right. And
man.
So we were involved in playtesting because they were like, okay, look, Len and various people, go to your groups, see if anybody has any feedback. Kind of like they eventually did for 5th edition, but on a much, much larger scale.
Right.
And So we fed back, and we suggested a bunch of things. My mother was Lutheran, but very creative and also kind of a white witch. So she knew an awful lot about the occult and recommended a bunch of spells that were how witchcraft kind of really works. So things like antipathy, sympathy, those are suggestions of my mother. And some of them made it into print. Fun, weird fact, my mom's name was Genevieve. So years later, they had that contest to name the dragon that's the mascot of Gen Con, and they named it Genevieve.
Oh.
So in my mind, what do they call that? The headcanon? That's all to celebrate my mother. Of course, nobody knows, but I don't think she even got a credit because she was not wired that way.
Right.
But her influence was in spells like that. So the name Nystul made it in when finally there were some of those names. They decided, okay, let's tag people's characters or names to them. When I was hired by TSR, some people there didn't know that Nystul was not a character, it was a person. I remember actually taking the little name plaque off my desk and setting it at someone else's desk and going, I was kidding, but I said, did you guys ever get permission to use my family name? It was Jim Ward, who had an amazing sense of humor.
Yes. We Jim was a guest on my show many times, and I love talking to Jim. Great sense of humor.
So the whole Nystul, that's Magic Aura, and eventually some other spells, they were kind of named after my family. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The difference is over time, I eventually became a game designer. My parents had no interest in that kind of stuff. So I also even worked for TSR for a little bit. So eventually, Nystul became me. I also exist in other fictional worlds like Ultima. Lord British's advisor Nystul is literally me.
Oh, that's so neat.
I think I'm in 9 universes now because I let people know that I sort of have a mini fetish for existing in pretend worlds.
That's really cool, man. I mean, you can be coterminous across many different settings like that.
That's a weird on it. That's a form of immortality, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I
love it. Ultima 6. I don't know if you ever played Ultima.
I did play. Yeah.
So there was a point where the fictional Nystul was killed off as a drama, almost like being in the refrigerator trope, like killing to increase the tension.
Right.
And they were playing around with the stereo function of the computer speakers. And one of the things is the enemy, the dark spirit or whatever, would taunt you as you were being the hero in Ultima. One of the things they would taunt is Nystul is burning in hell. So I literally got phone calls because, again, you're right. There were no internet, no nothing. And so from friends far away, a few people called to ask if I was okay.
Oh, that's great. I love the inside baseball stories like that. I absolutely, that is the coolest stuff. And, again, so when Joe reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to, and again, this is how my, how the brain works. I'm like, okay, well, this is probably a different guy from Mike Nystul in the BattleTech universe and a different guy from Mike Nystul in the AD&D. But no, you're all the same. You're all the same persons. I guess you're your own. What is the Moorcock? You're your own champion.
Eternal champion.
Across many things. So I want to take a minute because I really want to go down the path properly. But sure. I am the dude who will make a beeline from the front gate of Disney World straight to Pirates of the Caribbean. Screw that slow walk around the park. Yeah. I know what I like. I have to fanboy gush at you a little bit here because it's very AD&D is my love. It's my passion. Yeah. First edition is where it's at. But in the 1990s, I was steeped in BattleTech, and I do love me some BattleTech. And I have to say that this is not just like, oh, were you in here? Your name are in the credits here. That's pretty cool. I want to seriously, I mean this sincerely. I want to thank you for this. The Solaris 7 set is the best thing, and I'm going to zoom in on this. This is the best BattleTech product that FASA ever put out. The way this is arranged, FASA, when this came out, should have said, this is how BattleTech is played now. Whether it's in an arena or on the battlefield, this is the way the game works now. Because the heat management no longer becomes, I'm 3 over. I'm at a slight. You absolutely ride the red line in this. And because the game deals with 7.5 meter hexes, not 30 meter hexes, suddenly the short weapons ranges don't matter. Yeah. Because you're up in each other's teeth. You know, I mean, if you want to have long range tank duels and stuff like that, break out the other game. But this is how BattleTech should have been. You, like a decade after Jordan Wiseman borrowed a bunch of Macross stuff, you did it properly. Thank you for writing this. This is an amazing set of rules for BattleTech, and I wish it had become the lingua franca of the game. Unfortunately, I'm kind of alone, because when I fell in love with this and started showing it to a lot of my BattleTech playing friends, they were like, dude, these rules are garbage. They're slow and ponderous. Let's just go back to And I was like, you don't get it. Just read it, you know. But this is amazing. This is amazing. So I could not let the evening go by without just gushing for a minute about how damn good Solaris 7 is. Because you captured the feel of the warrior books that I've gone blank. Help me out here. On Guard, Riposte.
Oh yeah,
the Fourth Succession books, and they were written by.
Oh boy, you're asking a guy that's had multiple strokes.
Well, anyway, it made those books come to life, because again, hey, I'm at -4 to hit or whatever, or maybe I'm slowed. Suddenly becomes a very real tactile experience, and it is. Thank you, Tolemicus, Michael Stackpole.
Mike Stackpole. Yeah.
Mike Stackpole.
Oh boy, character that guy is.
Yeah, that felt like you were in a Stackpole novel when you were slugging it out with somebody, not from a half a kilometer away, but just literally like the distance to my front door of my house. You know.
So I do want to, before I say anything on that, number one, thank you. But just to be very clear, it was the best place I ever worked. The people were amazing. I'm very lucky that some of them are still my friends. I'm close to many of them. Just amazing human beings. That said, I fought for Solaris 7.
I want one more BattleTech thing, and I got to ask you this question. Did you interface with the design team of the MechWarrior 2 computer game at all?
I remember maybe 1 or 2 emails, but not much.
Okay. A dear friend of mine, unfortunately, he's passed, was the lead programmer, a gentleman by the name of Eric Peterson. It would have been too serendipitous if you and Eric had gotten to know each other.
I mean, that name is familiar. So it probably was the person that I did the back and forth with. I also, in the developer position, I worked a little bit with the guys that did the Game Boy game. Like, there were a couple of little games early on. I had some involvement with that. But I did fight for Solaris 7 to get it how it was, because like your friends, there were people at FASA that didn't see what we saw and responded like your friends did. They were, oh, it's ponderous. And I would say, it's a 10-meter tall walking tank. Of course it's ponderous.
Yeah.
You know, I also had to fight a little bit for the MechWarrior RPG revision I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually lost a lot of those battles. As a designer, I felt that the 2d6 resolution that was fine for a battlefield and a war game, the numbers don't work great for RPGs. So I recommended they change the dice. And I got nowhere, because they, at the time, it was policy. They said you have to resolve your roll to hit with your guy with a gun the same way the battle bank with a gun resolves.
And
I think
unfortunately,
yeah,
unfortunately, you get into weird upper right hand corner of the envelope situations where a guy with a heavy 45 or 50 caliber handgun can core a mech.
And there's not enough granulation to really do anything about it, which is why you start having conversations about bell curves. I also tried to get hero games to go from 3D6 to something else, like, let's do 2D10. Your midpoint is still 11, but it's not as sharp a curve. Let's give people more active operational result numbers. But I didn't get anywhere with that either. I did like MechWarrior 2, but more not the computer game, the role-playing game. But yeah. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. But boy, that was my baby. I had to champion that thing.
Well, you raised a beautiful, unique child. I'll tell you that. And I wish it had become the lingua franca of how BattleTech is played, but I think there were too many people that just wanted stompy robots shooting at each other from a half a kilometer away.
Well, ironically, my brother, who followed me in the developer role, he developed what I consider to be the ultimate version of Battle Force, which was what's treated as large units.
Yes.
And Brian is really good at those kind of strategic rule sets. So his version of that I don't think made it to print except through other things was great. So I kind of handled the up and personal left hand, and then he was like way out here to, what if you're going to take 3 companies? How do you resolve that? So Brian was way over here.
Right, because having done this over the course of like an all-day Saturday, you can absolutely set up as many map boards as you and your friends have and throw 36 mechs against 36 mechs and 24 infantry stands against 24 infantry stands, and then the helicopter gunships and the tanks and everything else. But you're gonna be there all day. Because it's like, the rifleman takes 3 points of damage on his leg. Let's move to the next one. Okay, my Atlas is shooting at your stalker.
Ironically, relative to this conversation anyway, my current game, the last game I put out, my last baby, was a thing called Nuked, which is a post-apocalyptic role-playing game. And I had a situation where I wanted mechanics so if a group of 12 raiders attacks your 4 PCs, we can resolve that quickly. So I have a mass melee thing to resolve that. I figured out, unfortunately, that it was asymmetric, that there weren't enough mechanics on the other end for you to then kill those raiders quickly. So the games ended up longer than I wanted. So it's the same problem over and over again. You just had to find ways to address it.
Yeah. And so to kind of get back on the dev highway. So you were at, was FOSSA right after TSR, or was there stuff in between?
Boy, Mayfair was in there. It might have been Mayfair FOSSA. Okay. I don't remember the order exactly, because I'm old and fuzzy. I was at Mayfair. I was at, it's in my CV. I could look it up, I suppose. I was at TSR right before they all moved up to Seattle, and they had the post Magic the Gathering, and it became Wizards, and they were in the big warehouse. And I was in the old school TSR, the big building with the weird tunnel. I was there. And I did not move because I had a very young family, and my wife didn't want to pull up stakes, and I had little ones. I think it may have been a mistake tactically for the shape of my career. But in Mayfair, I was there when saying the word demon was prohibited, and they hadn't come up with the weird, I forget what the weird not demon words they came up with were. But I was the developer of the line called Demons. So I just wrote demon mythology and stats for about 2 years, which was huge fun. So yeah, that was the 3 places in the industry that I worked in-house, was FOSSA, TSR, and Mayfair. I worked for a bunch of other places, sometimes in fairly significant roles, but not in-house. And I worked with Hero Games, and I freelanced with a bunch of people.
Okay. We have a question about Hero Games. Michael Connor asks, "Were you there for the development of Hero 6E?"
I was before that
Okay.
because I was involved in Fantasy Hero 2. I wrote the spell book. I was involved in the fantasy end of it mostly. I didn't really have any developer input into the superhero side. I was kind of like their guy who's a fantasy guy. Although as a player, I really loved Danger International and Justice Unlimited.
Yeah, Justice Incorporated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love that.
Justice Incorporated. So many 4E was and 5E. I feel like 5E was very nicely refined, but 4E was so rich. I mean, you had Ninja Hero, Robot Warrior. They did their own BattleTech thing. Robot Warrior.
Yeah.
And then of course all the little spin-offs, comic booky like spin-offs, spy stuff and that sort of thing. Of all of this, and I realized a lot of times when you're talking about creative endeavors, because I get asked this from time to time myself.
Sure.
But of this, do you have a favorite? Like that is the one, that is the jewel in the crown for me of your three working directly for settings or products or what have you?
Boy, of those three companies, I would say I had the most agency over the Demons line because I was the product lead dev. Like I wrote 90% of it. So like I wrote the book Arc Magics, which was about ultra high level magic. I would say the first Demons book. So before they spun off into separate parts of Hell, it did like Devils of Varakta, that kind of thing. It was just called Demons. I also, if you want a sense of what my writing sensibility was like at the time, that's like the book. It's a box set, I think.
Okay, I think let me see if I can. Here we go.
And you're right, by the way, Bayatsu, yeah. And Tanari.
Yeah. I kind of dipped out of D&D for a while in the mid late 80s, and then I fell back in love with 1E in the 90s, and so I missed that entire standards and practices. We're not going to say devils and demons anymore. So when I went looking for stuff, the first thing I did was I went looking for my first edition books and then bought those up, and then people are talking about Bezatu and Tannery, and I'm like, are these new kind of monsters? Like, wait a minute. That's just a type 4 demon. What are you guys talking about with all this? So let me see. I think I have it here. Heaven bless the share screen. Is this the card you picked, sir?
That's my boy. It was Folio, yeah.
Excellent. So there you go. And I found this one. This is on eBay. This is like $44.99. You guys out there with an itch to pick up some non-TSR stuff? It's not free, but that's definitely not as bad as it do get sometimes. So.
And the other thing is, I'll say, of all the things I've written, and I've got a lot out there, Demons is the thing I most sign at conventions.
Really? That's interesting. Because I mean, if I run into you, I'm gonna have a Dungeon Master's Guide, a Player's Handbook, and that Solaris set. But now I may track down Demons and get that one too.
In Solaris 7 is next. There are a lot of like hardcore BattleTech grognards who are either very fond of it or like it for the setting stuff, but they've admitted to never played it.
And well, people don't know what's good for them. So just showing my showing my preference there, but I do I do so very enjoy it. So
Yeah.
you've got racked and stacked 3 gigs at the Mayfair. They're out there producing 1E AD&D stuff, and of course you were at TSR, and then you're at FOSSA. You're turning the big ship's wheel when you're at FOSSA on arguably in the 90s, like the biggie. I mean, here is a game that was first person simulators, tactical isometric games, RPGs like Mech Warrior that Activision put out. So many.
We got to go down and play in the BattleTech pods because the BattleTech centers were a thing at that time. It was a wonderful time.
Yes. And my friend Eric, one of the pictures he sent me, they too got to go down there. He had a silk. They gave them silk bomber jackets with the BattleTech Center logos embroidered on them. So you guys got to go play with that stuff and do that stuff. So
it was also a great time because that was when we launched Shadowrun.
I want to talk to you about Shadowrun.
I was involved a bit in that. Obviously, I was not a lead on it, but I was there and I was involved. Great setting. Tom Dodd's a great guy. I have a tattoo on my arm designed by Jeff Lobenstein, who is still Jim Nelson and Jeff are 2 very close friends of mine. Amazing guys.
Yeah, Jeff. I tell you, Lobenstein's were. There are so many iconic artists. Like you could hold up at 50 paces a picture from an AD&D book, and I would go Errol Otis, Dave Trampier, Dave Sutherland, whatever. Yep. For BattleTech, it's Lobenstein's work.
Yeah,
I see his stuff. I don't know how he managed to make a battle mech look like it was made from stone and organic and metal all at once. It was such an incredible talent he has.
And the character work he did for Shadowrun and for Earth Dawn, like the troll characters were like nothing like they've been seen exactly like that before. So yeah, totally. I completely agree. And just amazing stuff. And that was the years that they brought the big play thing to Gen Con. So you could go up to the FOSSA booth and play in a cyberpunk city. It was amazing.
Nice. I mean that is so cool. So you I don't want to understate. I just want to make sure I've kind of got a correct mental image. You were on the outer ring of the development of Shadowrun, if I'm reading you right. If not,
I contributed ideas, but ultimately my actual name was attached to. I think I had a piece in Harlequin's Back, which is the most famous module. I did a module called Bug City. So I was involved in the development, but I was like, you're right. It's funny, looking back on my career in the games industry, I realized and got to peace with the idea that I'm the dude in the back rank of many photographs, smiling like I'm so glad I'm here. And it's so many different companies. I was never really the central guy, despite those developer roles I had. And yeah, for a while I was with BattleTech, but generally I was on the team and just glad to be there. So yeah. My view now, looking back at the industry, is a dude waving at the camera like, I can't believe I'm here. Yeah.
I know that feeling. I know that there's it's like you have this delicious creamy soup of I can't believe I'm here, flavored with just a tiny pinch of imposter syndrome, stirred and simmered, and it's a sense of, wow, I can't. I tease my fellow devs who worked on Osric and actually did all the work on Osric, the AD&D clone, about this a lot. I will say, oh yes, well, you guys did a great job cloning first edition AD&D, but without those 3 entries in the snakes and spiders and sphinxes in the Osric monster bestiary, you wouldn't have, the whole thing would have been scuppered, because I did those like in an afternoon. Somebody was like, well, we need these 3 filled, and I said, private message me and I'll do it for you. It's a joke though. It's a gag. My name is in the Osric book, but I don't I'm not a developer guy, so I get where you're coming from. Now, did you do any work on another? I think this was an underrated favorite, and I'd love to hear your opinion on it. On Renegade Legion.
No, I tested a little. I played a little. It was a glorious mess. Like mechanically, the concept of the templates. So if someone listening doesn't know, Renegade Legion, central to its combat system were templates. And you had like a grid of your armor. And one bullet might have a template that looked like that. One would be a straight in. Others, they would go in and then explode. Genius. And then you had a subsystem where anything that was widowed or orphaned, you'd cut away. But that was such a incredibly crunchy kind of subsystem that the surrounding system ended up, it was high concept, and what it was not was elegant, in my opinion. So, and the premise, the world was fine. It was space Romans, essentially.
I loved the setting and the setup, but you're absolutely right. It was 30 seconds of desperate space combat crammed into 3 hours.
Yes. But the templates, I reference them often because you see stuff like that in computer games, which do it much better because you don't have to sit there. But the physical template was amazing. The idea that you're the one weapon that would drill in and then explode. So the template looked like a line and then like a flower. It was very clever. It was super neat.
Yeah, I just, that was one of those things like we, I think I bought the box set and I think we played it 5 times ever total. Every time we were like, this was so much fun. We got to do this again someday. 18 months would pass. 2 years would pass. We'd play it again.
I was like that with Starfleet battles. I played it every weekend in high school, but then I'd forget about it and then try to relearn it. But the manual had become like a phone book.
Yeah. I mean, it was SFB really became advanced squad leader in space at some point. It was, it was very much. And I have a dear friend who thinks that the game fell apart when it stopped being Task Force Games Pocket Game number 12 or whatever it was called. It was just a single click box like what Steve Jackson Games was doing.
Those were so good.
They were. I have a few on the shelf over here that I've been meaning to do a deep dive on the show on, but yeah.
A lot of solid designs in there, and I agree. And there was an early one, and I don't remember if it wasn't called Starfleet Battles, it was something like it. And I saw somebody post a photo recently. Starfleet Battles is all about the templates, the SSDs. This version I remember playing in my living room, and it was discs on red cardboard, and then you'd have to guess your firing arc. So it was like, picture a red disc with compass points and like a very simple silhouette of like a Klingon cruiser, and you just throw out these hockey pucks, and movement was like, you'd say, I go forward 20 degrees, 4 inches, then I fire 60 degrees right full phasers. And you couldn't measure anything. So it was basically shouting out simple commands and then seeing a little like Robo Rally. You don't know how to actually execute. But that was like late 70s. And it was, I remember using yarn to be the phasers.
Yeah. That was a fun and crazy experimental time. I remember my aforementioned buddy Rob he was such an SFB head. He convinced us that using the phased movement and combat system of Starfleet battles in BattleTech was going to revolution. We're gonna adopt these. We did it for like 90 minutes, and I just looked at him and said, Rob, this isn't BattleTech. I'm not having fun with this. I'm going to 7-Eleven and getting a big bite and a Slurpee. When I get back, we'll decide what we're going to play, because I'm not doing this anymore.
Us Hero Games boys, we had kind of done that because the phase system is very similar to what you do in Fantasy Hero Champions. And yeah, it's weird to try to incorporate that into BattleTech. I absolutely agree. Interesting thought experiment, but yikes.
Yeah, the whole, like I'm moving my locust, I'm firing a machine gun, then I move him 2 more hexes, and I fire another machine gun, and then I turn 1 hex, and I fire the medium laser, and then I turn back. I'm like, Rob, this is you are cramming 30 seconds of fun into 3 hours. Would you stop it, please? So, but in my defense, I gave it a try.
Yeah.
So there was I know you said your involvement with Shadowrun, to hop back to that, was
Yeah.
kind of ancillary. I had once read that, and I want, first of all, I want your feelings on mixing chocolate and peanut butter, going cyberpunk and high fantasy together, because that was a pretty unique thing. I think you might have said and I'm going blank on him. Not Zelazny, damn it. Piers Anthony. Anthony to Zelazny. That's quite the jump. But Piers Anthony kind of dabbled.
Piers Anthony is my background at Mayfair, because I did the Xanth board game.
Okay. Well, there's a bit of a connection. So he kind of dabbled with the idea of tech and fantasy. I mean, seriously, tech and fantasy. You could go back to Gary or even Jim putting D&D characters into a Metamorphosis Alpha game back in 75, 76.
I don't know if you've looked at Nuked, but Nuked is literally my short form for describing it to game fans. Is what if you ran Fallout using Earthdawn? Not Earthdawn, Shadowrun.
I do want to talk about that, but so obviously you're on board with it.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was a cool concept myself. Again, it's a chocolate and peanut butter thing. But I remember someone at a con or a signing or something asked William Gibson what he thought of Shadowrun, and Gibson's response was pretty salty. He was like, "Oh, is that the thing with the elves and the dragons in Cyberpunk? Oh, ew. No, that's terrible. And they should write me a check anyway because I invented," or something. He just came over as really, really salty about it. And I didn't know if you guys ever had any, not necessarily from Gibson, or if anybody was like, "No, this is awful. I don't like the blending of the two."
The only weird kickback on a game wasn't that, and also my memory of Gibson and people that knew him and worked for them, like I think Tim Bradstreet worked for them, was kind of self-important, kind of his own butt.
Yeah.
So very talented. Like I love a lot of his work, but sense of humor was not that guy.
When I got to the end of all tomorrow's parties, I felt like sending the guy a letter and saying, "Look, you owe me the price of these paperbacks back." not because they were bad, but spoiler alert for those of you who maybe have not read the Bridge trilogy. Literally, the denouement of the Bridge trilogy is, "Oh, and by the way, reader, I'm Laney, but just a little bit smarter."
Yeah.
And I was like, "You jerk."
Yeah. So the best feedback I ever remember getting was at Mayfair, and it was actually from Family Business, not a role-playing game. You ever play Family Business?
I have not, no.
So that's a game that's a little like, there's a game I loved, I'm going to forget the name of it, it's the French Revolution, and you line up aristocrats, and then they get beheaded. And it's all about changing where they are in the line, so it's like that. Family Business was about you played a mob family, so you'd pick a group like the Purple Family, and there'd be things to get other people dealt with or handled or murdered, and you wanted your family to win. We got a letter from a living member of one of those crime families, an actual criminal who had been in prison for federal crimes.
Wow. Wow.
Oh my God. We could my understanding is they'd done a basic rudimentary pre-internet check and thought that anybody relevant was dead or had been like aged out and wouldn't care. They loved the game, and their only request, they wanted a box of copies to play with their friends.
Now, see that is such an unexpected quarter because I
Right?
mean, I think we all have a media perception of what mobsters are like, and I think it is
Yes.
probably in the closest I think you're ever going to get to how they really are is the book Wise Guy. I literally the idea of anybody associated with La Cosa Nostra sitting down with a pen and paper RPG and saying, okay, let's roll up some characters and let's play who wants to be the dungeon master, kind of thing. But I mean, statistically, it follows that there's going to be a tiny percentage who's going to say, nah, we can't hit him on Sunday. That's when I got my Shadowrun game.
So very, very short. Again, I guess tangentially related to what we're talking about. I grew up in a neighborhood in Chicago, and in the neighborhood I was in, there was a liquor store across the street from a bowling alley. It was very well known that there was a private poker game that took place underneath the liquor store. Sure. And anybody who grew up there knew, yeah, those are people you speak very nicely to or generally avoid. There were people in my neighborhood who were guys that were, they wore gold chains. They were very outwardly very macho, a very specific type. And they were never very nice to me because I'm not that type. But when I brought home my baby and my wife to the house, the old couple next door who I'd always been nice to, and they seemed like just some nice retired Italian people, they came to my door with a line of these kids in black tight t-shirts and chains. And they all had like Tupperware with food. And one by one, they said, congratulations on your blessing, gave us food and left. And I got a hug from the old man. And he said, welcome to the family.
Wow.
And being the guy who watches movies by blood when cold.
I can imagine. I can absolutely. So what you're saying is this old guy, he was a real good fella, huh?
The only past that, other than those kids never being rude to me ever again, because they knew I was nice to the old man approved of me. The pothole in front of our house was fixed the next day and was never left untended again.
Well, I mean, you cannot argue with the effectiveness of, shall we say, neighborhood social groups.
Sure.
And if anyone is watching this out there, I would just like to state my unending appreciation for the Italian American community in the United States. I appreciate and love you all.
And the reason I brought it up is it was connected to the fact that I did have some experience. So it was not as big of a surprise to me, right? I'm like, I kind of know some of those guys. And I'm not surprised that, like, when they're not being people that might make you very, very nervous, some of them are just some dude from down the street. And apparently some of them really like card games.
Well, I mean, that's great. That's I tell this story. We had a catalog pull. Well, it's still there, but there's a catalog pull style gaming store here in Central Florida, and I was waiting in line to pick up an order. I had some paints and minis one day, and they did a big trade in Magic the Gathering and Euro style board games. So they had a lot of tables. So I'm waiting in a fairly long line to get up and give them my number and get my stuff and go. And I look over and there's two women gabbing with each other. Again, Northeastern United States accents. They're wearing a lot of chunky gold and so on. And I figure somebody's mom, aunt, whatever, waiting for their son to get their stuff. So they're gabbing and one of them's like, so hey, you want to go ahead? And she's like, yeah, let's, and they dig into their purses and pull out Magic decks and start, so from every walk. So let's talk about Newt. Because sure. I think we have talked about the past and and Tales Out of School. But that is your baby. Now you sent me a link in email, and I'm going to share this up, and it's going to go in the description. So if you're watching this after the fact, anyone, don't worry. Let me pull this up here.
Well, on Facebook, you can do Nuked TTRPG, and that's a group on Facebook.
Okay.
I'm the Wandering Wizard on Facebook. Also, wanderingwizard.guru gets you to my page. My first self-published game. Yeah, that's general information on me.
Okay.
My first self-published game was Whispering Vault, which was an eccentric. It's now kind of a cult game. Recently, though, I came back with Nuked, which was right before the pandemic, where we were starting to isolate. A couple of my friends, which were local at the time, Austin improviser, voice actor people. I was, again, tangentially, because one of these guys that knows everybody, but like, I'm not always of them. Like, again, I'm the guy at the back of the picture going, hey.
Right.
So I knew a lot of people at Rooster Teeth. So a lot of people know what Rooster Teeth is. I think it's gone now.
Yeah, they wrapped up a few years ago, unfortunately.
So I knew a bunch of those people, and also people who were Austin improvisers who make great performative gamers. And they told me they wanted to do a live play, because I'm not even sure the term live play was a thing yet, but they wanted to do it. But we discussed doing D&D, but D&D was being overdone. So I said, well, they talked about maybe wanting to do Gamma World, but at the time Gamma World was out of print. And the last version was that weird one with collector decks for your feats.
Yeah.
Which I never cared for. I love Gamma World, but I told them, look, I'll run the game for you, but I'm a game designer first and foremost. Why don't I make a game and we'll play that game? So I came up with Nuked. At the time, I don't think there was any post-apocalypse game on the market. There was a lot of stuff that was like Metamorphosis Alpha, Gamma World, clearly a bunch of stuff that was around, but not actively doing much of anything. So I put together Nuked, and Nuked, the whole idea was just, it's post-apocalypse, but it doesn't take itself with this dead serious, grim, dark, militaristic bent. Like
right. It's not Twilight 2000.
Yeah. A lot of that is very gun focused. It takes itself ever so seriously. Right.
Yeah.
And I wanted there to be magic because I was, I loved Shadowrun. I thought it was a good combination. So we have beasties, which are humans that are also animal. Ever see the movie Rock and Rule?
I love Rock and Roll. I absolutely this is one of my favorites. Yes, I have seen Rock and Roll. I love Rock and Roll. Fantastic movie. I'm sorry. Please.
No, it's fine because so many people I drop that reference, they stare at me blankly and I tell them they have homework because I'm such a Nirvana fan. So Rock and Roll, yeah.
I was just going to say one of my streaming cohorts, the Dungeon Minister, and you should absolutely check out his channel. You and anyone else who's watching the Dungeon Minister here on YouTube, his neighbor worked on that film.
Is that Derek?
No, it's Father Aaron, the Dungeon Minister.
Okay.
Yeah,
so it was wonderful. So
yes, great soundtrack.
Oh my God, Iggy Pop and Debbie Harry doing voices in it. It was top-notch stuff, and flopped terribly at the.
Yeah, I think it made $80,000 in theaters.
Something unfortunate came out the same weekend and killed it, but I don't know what that was, and it wasn't promoted very well. It was real merch. So Nuked incorporates a lot of that, and you can play goblins. There's things that will be familiar. There's dwarves. My dwarves, though, are people that were engineers in IT that were underground when the bombs hit. So they're a little like the Morlocks from Time Machine. Like they get big beards with like the bigger eyes so they can see in the dark. The end of the people that were under the ground when the bombs hit. Nuked is fun, irreverent. It's got just enough crunch to bite, but the system is easy to learn. It flows well. Yeah, there you go. And as somebody who's played dozens and dozens of games and freelanced for dozens and dozens of companies, also I've repped games with other people. The fact that every time I run this at a convention or I do a live demo, people they light up and get excited. It was enough to convince me it's worth the time. Yeah. If I got a mediocre response, I think I would have given up on it by now. But people, once they play this game, I find they really enjoy it.
Well, we do love us some post-apocalypse around here, nominally, unless my house ends up flooded. We do play Gamma World on Friday nights around here. So many of my audience, myself and my players, are all big fans of the post-apocalypse setting. And of course, the late Jim Ward would come on, and we talk about Gamma World, and I think you can probably put Metamorphosis Alpha in the same shoebox as Gamma World. There's plenty of
I just did a video on Metamorphosis Alpha for the RPG a day thing. It was the only game my parents ever confiscated.
Oh no, we have to hear this story. Okay.
It's not for
mom and dad take it. Go.
Well, and it's just that they were saints. I was a smartass, often arrogant, egotistical kid. They were very patient with me, and it helped that they were also gamers. So when I was doing D&D, they knew what that was. Right. And they approved, obviously. However, it got to the point where I was running for a long time, 5 sessions a week. I barely had any other life. And when Metamorphosis Alpha hit, I fell in love with it, which ate up all of my remaining time. So my parents were, hey, look, you got to pull back from gaming in general, and this game in particular, just too much. You need to slow down. And being a teenager who needed some tough love, I didn't listen. And as a result, I feel bad for them now in retrospect as a dad. They confiscated all my Metamorphosis Alpha stuff. I never got it back.
Wow, really?
Yeah. I mean, and to their credit, I did slow down. And I listened, I heard. It got through.
So it wasn't so much the content as look, this is just one step over the line, and if we're going to cut it off somewhere, here's an arbitrary spot.
Yes.
Okay.
They had no trouble with the content. I mean, I sat and watched Planet of the Apes marathons with them, and my mom was an early nerd. She collected those endless cheap paperbacks from the 60s and 70s. Where it felt like a new one came out every week, and she read every one of them.
Right.
So no trouble. It was just they were right to do it. I think I did not have any sense of work-life balance. Did not exist.
No, I get you. And I want to answer a question real quick. Somebody had asked about the fact that. Rock and Roll bombed. These are the movies Rock and Roll was up against in 1993. Return of the Jedi.
There you go.
Terms of Endearments, Flashdance, Trading Places, War Games, Octopussy, Sudden Impact.
No chance.
Yeah, the last 3 are a little, but still, Staying Alive, a sequel to Saturday Night Fever, Mr. Mob, and Risky Business. This movie was I'm sorry. It had no chance. It had zero chance. And I wish, I wish to goodness. Now there was a little almost bespoke DVD company that back in the early 2000s, because I have attached myself to this movie like a tick. And so whenever I would, Google it like multiple times a month to see if it was coming out on a special format DVD, and it did. And I bought one, and I would constantly tell people, go buy this. It's a lot of fun if you like heavy metal, if you like American pop, if you like that sort of thing, get this. And now apparently they no longer have the rights to it either. So it is once again,
it's back in limbo.
It's back in limbo. So
I mean, I would always preach that one and Ice and Fire.
Yeah, Ice and Fire, or Fire and Ice, whichever direction it goes. Wizards is another good one.
I just showed my youngest Wizards last month. And they're a grown ass person now, but it's like such a thing of its time. And honestly, the reason I call myself Wizard, I'm wondering where my buxom fairy princess is. I was told things. Promises were made.
I understand, but yeah, that 70s and early 80s animation was just.
Oh, Daryl! Oh God, no. Very different movie.
Yeah, oh yeah, no. Different movie, not rock and roll. No. Rock and rule. And such voice talent it had too. I mean,
so good.
So many voice talents in that. Anyway, so we have once again. I'm sure you can tell, Malix, that this show is very focused and stays on track.
Oh yeah.
It's really second only to its technical acumen in terms of how professionally produced it is. But
the trick to staying on the rails is making rails everywhere.
Yes, exactly. Well, your campaign is just a railroad. Yes, but you'll note they go in every possible direction.
Choo-choo, buddy.
Yeah. So Newt, and that's available today, or is that in?
It is available
progress?
right now on RPG, Drive-Thru RPG.
Okay.
In fact, it recently got there's a neat thing where if you buy an electronic version of something from Drive-Thru RPG, it is effectively evergreen, because I bumped up to a 2.2 revision. All the people who bought the game were notified and could download the upgraded version. So if you pick up the game, you've basically got an evergreen version of it.
Excellent. And I'm gonna put the page up here once I make sure I got. Let's see. That's not letting me go to it. Come on here. I'm not seeing it. I mean, it's certainly there on Drive-Thru, but when it 404s me when I try and follow the link here for the product page. Yeah, your loot is in another cave. You cannot access this content right now. So if you've got a newer,
I'm working on it.
Okay, no worries. But anyway, so that is very cool that that is a thing. This looks pretty neat.
Big fan of it. I also have written novels in that.
I see that there. Okay.
I'm very proud of it. Can you see this in our studio chat?
Let me see. Let's follow that. And Drive-Thru is verifying that I am a human. I have to prove to a robot that I'm a person. Welcome to the 21st century.
Right.
All right. So here is the link, everyone. If you want to go check that out, I will substitute for that.
I've got it at I think a humble $15 price point. It's like I want people playing it. I'm not looking to make big bucks. I just like it out in the world. Yep.
There you guys go. $15 for a PDF. Now, obviously you don't have it pod here, but Is there a route to getting a physical copy?
I had a publishing partner. I do not now. I'm looking for one.
Okay.
So I'm working on a route. Also, if you go to my, you've already directed people to wanderingwizard.guru. There are links there. Also on my, I think in my YouTube, I did a 2-year long nuked live stream campaign. Also,
Oh, very
recently,
cool.
the relaunch of this one, I did a let's play the game together in a short run, which I know for a fact those two things you can see on my YouTube.
Okay, I'm gonna let's see.
So if you want to know what it's like, you can go watch.
Well, there you go, guys. You can check out, and I will, again, for our watchers in the future, I will put that link. And if you're watching this in the past, please tell me how you accomplished that. But then fast forward to the point on your Atavachron where you get to the
Chronomancy.
Yes, chronomancy. So you got Nuked is out there, and it's it's got a good rating on it. So somebody's checked it out. So you guys out there, if you watch us play Gamma World, go check out Malix's live plays on his YouTube channel.
I'll also invite, like, if you ever want to take a week off of Gamma World and have me run Nuked for your crew, happy to do it.
You know what? I will propose it to them because good Lord knows I am a perma DM and I never get to play. So I would love to run that eyeball guy in the tweed sweater. I would do that in a heartbeat.
That's Simon.
Simon. I would run Simon's cousin or Garfunkel or something like that. But it would be a joy and I would be honored. So what's across the next? What's over the next hill? What is down the road?
There's two things. One is I feel a little like Rip Van Winkle, right? I semi-retired from a lot of things, including the game industry, and I came back, and it was very different. So a few things happened. One, I tried to do a Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. I based my aspirations on what I knew about the industry from 1984. Boy, that was a bad idea.
Yeah,
I did not understand modern publishing, how any of that ecosystem worked. And I really did understand back in the day. I had gotten before I started Pariah Press and published Whispering Vault, I made a point of doing every industry job. So I'd been a print buyer, I'd been an editor, I'd been a developer, and none of it applied anymore. So job one is I need to kind of catch up to social media and the way gaming runs now. So I've got a YouTube up. Brief pseudo anecdote. I went to one of the conventions, maybe GaryCon, and the people that do D&D in a castle were there. And I walked up, gave them a business card, and said, "Hey guys, I run games. I'm a professional DM. I've been doing it for years. I'm an actor. I'm an improviser. I've run D&D in castles. I can do this for you, and I can kick some ass." And they looked at the thing. I offered to give them my CV, and they said, "Mr. Nystul, we know who you are," and then asked me right to my face, "How many followers do you have?" So it was made very clear once I reached a certain line of followers, they'd put me to work right away. And the reason I always give that anecdote is such a clear, obvious in English, somebody explaining the wall that I encounter. So I need to become part of the social media thing to have relevancy in the current world of game design.
This is not directed at you. This is directed at the base of that statement that they told you. I think that's bullshit. I think that is bullshit, and I think that's a bullshit attitude. And people can say, well, that's the way the world works now, Bill. You know, and I get it. I absolutely understand. It's not 1978 anymore, and it never will be again.
Yeah.
I thoroughly, and I say that on the show. You know, people are like, oh, what do we do to get AD&D so popular that Wizards of the Coast goes back to making it? Nothing. A ring of many wishes, and hope that you can word it right, that the genie doesn't screw you.
Yeah.
That it is not 1978, and it never will be again. But the reality is, and one of the reasons I love to talk to creators, veterans of the industry, and I mean you're a veteran of many campaigns in this industry, is first of all, it's nice that everyone has a voice. It's nice that the history of our hobby is not disposable, but I don't think that there's a follower minimum. I am absolutely of the mindset that a rising tide lifts all boats. If I've lucked into the 7,000 whatever subs I've got here, and the 8K or so I've got over followers I've got over on X. If someone coming here and please don't think I'm saying, well, you needed my help, Mike, so that's why I had you on. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying for all of us in the creative space, if it pushes us to that point where you or I or Dungeon Minister or my buddy Doomsword, who has a small YouTube channel, or Vile Necromancer, any of us small creators, if it adds a little bit of gravity assist, us collaborating, and gets people's heads out of their asses that it is not just a transactional thing, that it is about community and it's about coming together and gaming, then my God, let's get together, you know?
And that's certainly the attitude, or was the attitude of the people that I worked with and for in the late 80s. You know, it was the attitude that, live, sell ships. Absolutely. Right now, though, it feels like you could say that the response would still be, I agree. How many followers do you have?
Yeah, that's a lovely sentiment. How many followers do you have? Yeah. I'm reminded of a story. There's a tech YouTuber, and this has nothing to do with tabletop gaming, but sure. there's a tech YouTuber who puts on a front face about being just this geeky, happy-go-lucky guy. You know, oh, I built a PC and a couch. You know, can we still game with a 20-year-old GPU and that sort of thing type videos? When he goes to cons, he literally does not want to talk to creators with less than 500,000 subscribers, and has people to stop people from coming up to him if they're not just pure fans. If they're other creators, he does not want to be seen in your circle. He does not want to appear to be lending endorsement to you. And I think that's a bullshit attitude. And that's one of the reasons that I unsubscribed from him. I think that is a terrible, terrible attitude to have, because it
took me a long time to get here, because two things. One, I'm a performer. I'm very outgoing, but I have a little bit of I have dysmorphia. I don't like looking at myself. I don't like editing myself. Mm-hmm. Performing on stage or GMing, you're not looking at yourself. So dysmorphia doesn't kick in. This forces me to look at me, and I don't like it. But the other thing, which is more important, is I, like you, I celebrate all these voices. They're great. I've joked about Jenny D, for example, because on one level, the stupid part of my brain, and this is a joke, by the way, says, this zygote just explained to me how to run a game.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
She seems like a dear heart. Most of her videos seem on point, but there's a part of me that's like, oh my God, is she 8? She's not. She's in her 20s. But do you know the guys from Nerdarchy at all?
I don't know them personally. I know that by name.
There was we were both at one of the pair was at a con with me at the signing booth. So it was we're overlapping slots for signings, and we had time. So I asked the question on my mind was, number one, do you mind if I ask you questions? It's like, no, go ahead. So I asked, look, I am a straight white middle-aged man. Look at me. I'm a beard. I'm kind of a gut. I wear black. There are 1,000 of me. There are 10,000 of me. Why should I? Why is my voice needed, right? When we've had a history of not listening to women, people of color, other voices, what do we need this for? And I asked him, how do you think I could approach a channel with a point of view that would be unexpressed? And the thing he said to me that caused me to start actually shooting videos was, look, man, it's now a huge audience, huge, tons of people. So what you need to do, the only thing that matters, the only thing, is be consistent. Whatever it is you're thinking about doing, do it and do it over and over again. And then your people will find you. So don't worry about any of the things you're worried about. Just as long as, if your thing was, I'm going to just do stats for goblins in every system on the face of the earth, and I'll come on stream and I'll talk you through writing up these goblins. If you did that reliably every Monday and Wednesday, you would gain a following. That was his point. And well taken. It wasn't that I needed to seek it out. I needed to accept that they would seek me out.
Yeah, you know, and I feel like that's an absolute must. That mindset, you know, I don't really I don't necessarily buy into the, well, what can an old white guy like me bring to the table? Well, lots. I mean, even if I'm just a megaphone for other creators to get their voices heard, I don't think that grading things on that scale is constructive.
You're right. It's not my better angels that are saying that.
Oh, no. I understand. I'm just, you know,
I'm totally with you, man.
Yeah,
and you're right. It's also the singer, not the song sometimes.
Yeah.
Even if you're finally singing Girl from Ipanema, your version of Girl from Ipanema will not be like Ted's. So go ahead and sing, buddy. You know?
So by the way, I'm not, let's just get where we can see each other a little better there. But anybody, the links to Newt, to Mike's pages, stuff like that, it's all going to be down there in the description, not in my lap. It's going to be all down there in the description space. So you should definitely, again, if you're watching this, check it out.
Cool.
But no, I think it goes back to the kernel of what I'm saying is, you know, a rising tide lifts all boats. And like, I'm reminded of, now this is a little late back because you said your dad did lighting in the Playboy Club, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know who Tracy Lesh is?
Name doesn't sound familiar.
Okay. This is a piece of Tracy Lesh artwork, but Tracy also did the design for the Mind Flayer. The original design for the Mind Flayer back in 75 is Tracy, and he was a close neighbor of mine around here. I got the Art and Arcana art book, and I started looking, because I don't want to be dismissive when I say this, but everybody knows who Dave Trampier is. Everybody knows who Dave Sutherland and Dave LaForce, all the Daves, right?
And Jeff D.
And Jeff D. And the late Jim Rosloff. So many great visual creators. When I got the Art and Arcana set and started digging through it and looking at the OD&D authors, the guys who were in Lake Geneva, maybe lived there in 1974, and Gary was like, I have a book, I need 10 illustrations, I have a $20 budget.
Right.
You know, Tracy was one of those folks, and he told me a story that absolutely touched my heart. The year before he and I met, before I realized that he lived right here in the area of Central Florida that I did for a long time, when this book came out, he went to GaryCon in Lake Geneva, and they had him a table. They had stuff for him to sign. They had people in a line ready to meet the guy who did the Mind Flayer. And he said to me something that made me feel good, but it broke my heart at the same time. When he and I did our first ever collab at a local comic store, he said, I didn't realize anybody still knew who I was from those days.
Dude, Gary Kahn.
And the first person I ever interviewed before I started working for him and so on was Gary. I thought everybody knows who Gary was. Gary had been on Futurama at that point. Gary did the convention circuit and so on. But you look at so many of those people in the creator space who did things like, maybe they did an illustration in Keep on the Borderlands. Maybe they wrote a monster right up in Monster Manual 2 when Gary was too busy or something like that. And I think those voices need to be remembered and celebrated. And there's a lot of those creators like Tracy who said, I didn't think anyone would remember me. But the reason I bring up Tracy, I told you the kind of melancholy story. To tell you a funny one. After he was no longer at TSR and he did some other graphics jobs and stuff like that in his very early 20s, Tracy was the DJ at the Playboy Club in Geneva.
Which means he almost certainly ran into my dad.
He almost certainly ran into your dad. We've got to get you and Tracy on a live stream together one day, and you guys compare notes or something.
Funny.
But yeah, so Tracy, there's a picture of him in front of a bunch of bunnies in the disco area.
So I had not done conventions for a long time. And a bunch of friends kept mentioning Gary Kahn to me. They said, look, we know that you don't like how big Gen Con has gotten. Gary Kahn is like Gen Con back in the day. It's smaller. It's more based on the older games. It's kind of more of its own community. So I came out. And like your friend, I was starting to feel like I'm not the cute 20-year-old girl with the purple hair, that no one knew who I was. So literally, I had become friends with Todd Stashwick through, he was on my Nuke live cast. He played Nuke several times. Big fan of the game. So guy's now a big star. And I'm going through the hallway and I'm thinking, nobody knows who I am. I'm not sure why I'm here. I don't really have enough to do. And he, in the middle of his game, stops and gestures, calls me over, stops his game and says, do you know who this is? And then basically tells the people he's sitting with, this guy, who I respect, this famous guy is like, he wrote this, and made me feel incredibly good. But like your friend, I walked away feeling like, oh, there are still people. I kept going back as one of my Keystone Cons now, one of my don't miss. Like Page in Philadelphia, I will now go every year. Gary Kahn, I go every year. But from that point, now when I go, there's people that will come up with demons, copies of demons for me to sign, or Solaris 7. Occasionally the Player's Handbook, the old ones. But I felt exactly how he's feeling. I missed it. The train moved past my station, and I'm facing it a little now as I'm on everybody who's done social media tells me you accumulate things like followers and attention slowly, and then at some point it ramps. You just need to consistently build that, and at some point it'll swing.
Yeah. And, I was sitting at 1,570 some followers on January 17th, 2023. I did a few videos on the OGL debacle when that happened. In one day. I woke up the next morning with over 3,000 subs. So it's weird how stuff can just catch fire, and God knows YouTube does not make that algorithm scrutable.
It's not no.
It just like it is very much like the computer from Paranoia. Please, Mr. Computer, please. Okay, all right, I'll do it for you. And then other days you're like, please, Mr. Computer, please. I'm just going to nuke your channel.
Right. So you did ask, and I didn't really answer. What's next? And thing one is social media presence. But product-wise, the minute I have a few more people playing Nuke, so it has to get a certain amount of penetration, I've got all kinds of supplement backup for it. Like I have Drive Hard, which is a set of vehicle rules. There's a whole region that's essentially like Thundar the Barbarian. So it's weird mutant sword and sandal stuff.
Right.
There's a guy that's working with me on a Morkborg called Reich, which is the Morkborg nuked area That is Mutant Zombie Nazis. So if you want something you can feel free to massacre and feel good about, it would be Mutant Zombie Nazis.
There you go. Now, far be it from me, but I think you could do worse than putting your own twist on Albuquerque Starport. Just saying.
Well, I've got a map that's kind of the nuked North America. There's various areas that are various things, including the Thundar region. The main region, the book that I sent you, is Texan, which is Central Texas, a little bit farther north. So moving forward, that'll all kind of grow out and breathe. But that's supporting nuked is the next thing. But the project beyond that would be either finding a publisher who wants me to do Demons Redux, like somebody that wants me to do a new Demons line for whatever game, or as a kickback against, and not against, because I think I'm not a big fan as a player of Shadow Dark. As a concept, I think it's amazing. The culture and the support that's coming from Arcane Library. Kelsey is an amazing human being. I don't think there's a better next generation person to be a banner carrier for a hobby than Misty Ann. But a lot of it is what we now call grimdark, right? I did grimdark when I was 20. I'm kind of over it. I'm a hippie Santa goth now. So I kind of want to work on what I'm calling Adventurers Bold in my notes, which is the opposite of grimdark. It's adventurers. It's this kind of thing. And on one level, I'd really like to do, there's this whole thing where people push towards, you want to make it the darkety dark to dark. To me, that's shooting fish in a barrel, right? That's not hard. The hard thing is giving people something beautiful and something hopeful. So what might be next after Nuked, which, despite all, yes, Ironcaster.
Noble Bright.
Yes, although my one problem with Noble Bright as a term is the same problem I have with what happened to Star Wars. I don't want exceptionalism to be part of the metaphysics or the narrative, right? So the minute you say noble, I want hero to be available to everybody. So if you say noble, there's a risk of an inferred special class, right?
In this context, when I think of noble, I think of I think of a stack of positive traits, not you are of royal birth.
You're not wrong. I just think it's baggage that you'd have to be very careful around, because you're right. The noble could be, the nobility comes from the bright part,
right?
That's what uplifts you. But it's hard to imagine that the other meaning doesn't creep in if you're not very careful.
No, I can understand, and I certainly think there's an element that's just they're hair triggered to jump on anything. If you so you're saying someone who is low-born can't be a hero? No, somebody who's low-born can be a hero. So you think there's low-born people? Oh my God,
it's rough because I am on that team. I'm crazy far left, but I'm not, I hope, reactionary like that. So I try to be like the reasonable voice in that room, if that makes sense.
Sure. No. I follow you. But you were mentioning cultures like this, and this is something I think you and I can maybe even discuss kind of to the side. Not that I'm hiding anything from the viewers or anything, but there is an absolutely fantastic group of Greek developers working on a 1800s Greece horror themed supplement for it's built on Shadow Dark. It's in playtest. If that's something that interests you, you and I can talk about that, and maybe we could get you in on a playtest session or something, because they are we gave their first sample game, and for anyone out there who's listening to me right now and is like, I didn't see this live stream, Bill, we didn't live stream this, but if that interests you, let me know, because as soon as you said talked about Shadow Dark and everything, I was like, I wonder if he'd like this. So I wanted to say that before I forget it, because I will forget it. old man brain. So what's you've talked about what's next? You've talked about over the horizon. We've talked about the history. Is there any nails sticking up that we didn't hammer down tonight?
I mean, other than the ones that are inherently political, so probably like Dangerous Ground.
No, I don't. We.
No, I got you. It's one of
know.
the things that I'm up against in the industry. Is I'm
Sure.
very much a let's make a bigger table. So
Mhm.
one of the things I do a lot is like open tables for people that might not feel welcome elsewhere.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's part of my life.
Sure.
But yeah, other than that, I guess as a designer, what I'm facing is I love the success of Shadow Dark. And I love the success of Mork Bork, but I don't like the follow-on success and the iteration that feels like when everything was a supplement for 2E for a little while.
Mhm.
I'd rather see unique systems tackling things in new ways. And that exists. It's not like it doesn't. But I don't think there's certainly not as much of that as there is just more stuff for the popular stuff, right?
Right.
And that's what mainly what I'm looking for is I would love to see more new ideas.
Yeah. So, well, I certainly would love to see it too. If there's anybody out there who's got a question for Alex, I think we had one earlier that we answered. But if any of you guys have got any questions, I think we'll open the floor. Hello, RPG Grandma. Good to see you, my dear.
Love to see that.
Oh yeah. Let's see. And she is, by the way, guys, go check out RPG Grandma's channel here on
Very
YouTube.
cool.
She's got her own thing going over there that's very cool. We love us some RPG Grandma. But I'm gonna zip through the chat real quick.
I love somebody named Waves of Mutilation.
Wave of Mutilation is one of the favorite hangarounds here. Wave is
the contrast of that name saying "Yay, Grandma" is like delightful, absolutely delightful.
It is. I don't like to brag, Mike, but I have the smartest and the best looking audience of any 5 night a week classic TTRPG YouTube live stream, and I'll kill on that hill.
I'm watching the chat. It's been a good chat.
You guys see everybody's going to get something from the prize box tonight. There is no prize box. They're not getting anything. But I want to make sure I'm not missing any questions here, because we have covered everything. Daniel Rowan said, "Girl from Ipanema is the music that plays in my head when I'm staring blankly." It's White Room from Cream by Me, so it's a little jangly, but it keeps me awake at least.
That feels a little Severance.
Yeah. Thank you, Daniel. I still think I lucked into this, but there we go. Honestly, it was the weirdest thing when I started reporting on the OGL blow up, and Wizards of the Coast was screwing stuff up at a rate of 4 or 5 incidents a day that was leaking out of their office. A friend of mine reached out into he logged on to a remote machine where he had no YouTube footprint, like he had not subscribed to YouTube, and he said, "Dude, I just went to like the generic YouTube page and you're on the front." I was like, "I'm what?"
Go figure.
So and thankfully for me, for my numbers anyway, the entire year of 2023 went by and Wizards of the Coast screwed something up every month, almost every week for a few months. Wow. So well, Grandma, you can just scroll back and you can watch the whole thing again. Am I using my magic font again? Yes, the magic font has been repaired. I had a 9th level waterworks, a water bender. There you go. There's some. We are big Avatar fans around here. A water bender came in, and although I mean he used a snake. What do you think to the industry veteran? Is that metal bending or is that water bending?
It depends on if it's a focus for your use of the water bending or if the thing you're bending is the snake itself.
I think he's a metal bender. I think he guided the snake and knocked it off. I think if it was a water bender, he would have just like forced the water out without the snake. So I'm gonna go metal bender. Yes, that is correct. Somebody had asked me about Gary. Yes, when Gary left TSR, TSR immediately tried to make him sign a piece of paper that said, I won't put my name on things that I publish because it's a danger to TSR. And then he sat down. He did not sign it. He told them to get fucked. And sorry, pardon my language. He told them to sit on it. And he...
so bad, so sad. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he sat down to write Dangerous Journeys, which they were so angry about. They sued GDW, his company that he was working for at the time, lost. And he told Lorraine Williams, if you will just buy Dangerous Journeys from GDW and publish it, you guys will be fine if you're that scared of a role-playing game written by me. But she hated him so much, she refused to. So they sued and they lost, and they had to pay GDW a bunch of money. And then they ended up buying it from GDW anyway. So
my personal worst mistake, bad miss is White Wolf offered to buy and publish the Whispering Vault, and I said no.
Oh,
it was not a smart move.
I'll go you one. This is a little bit more collectory. Yeah. But I'll go you one better. It's 1991. My buddy Matt had just gotten out of the Navy. We go to a local comic shop here in Orlando, and I bought like a Mobile Suit Gundam model and a couple of comic books. Nothing real important, but it's about $50 worth of product. And my buddy Matt calls me over and he's like, "Hey, you want to get this?" And I was like, "Get what?" And so I go over, and under the behind the counter under the glass is a wood grain OD&D set. This is 1991, mind you, and the princely sum of $50.
Oh,
and I looked at Matt and I laughed and I said, "Why the hell would I buy an old copy of D&D?" And I paid for my stuff and left because I would have $26,000 now. That's why I should have bought it.
Oh God! And there's of course everybody's, because it's the point of ephemera is. Back in the day, you would trade on trading day on Sundays. I don't think they even call them trading day anymore. People that attended companies that attended Gen Con didn't want to ship everything home. So they would give their employees a stack of products and say, go forth, trade with the other companies. So I had a garage full of games, which if I kept them would be priceless.
Yeah. Yeah. Tracy, when now I don't want to spoil this story of how this went down, so I'll just jump to a single point in it because it's good. It's good to hear. When Tracy got hired by Gary, he had no idea what D&D was. Nobody did in 1975, but Gary was in his house and he just threw a wood grain set at Tracy. He's like, "Here, catch." And throws him a wood grain set and says, "Keep that and study it so you'll know what I'm talking about when you are working on the art." And he's like, "Okay, cool." So just, "Here's a wood grain set, kid. Study this book." And he told me, he said, Bill, I read through the whole thing and I was like, what in the hell what is this about?
The younger people don't fully appreciate the age of miracles and wonders they live in. The fact that to learn role-playing games, they can just watch people play.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't have that.
Yeah. What was it? Tim Kask. Tim Kask got his job at TSR by playing D&D with Gary over the phone for 9 hours. It went from, I have a question about D&D to, well, let's just play a session on the fun, to, look, why don't you just drive over to Lake Geneva and work here?
and the fact that because of that separation, people played different. Not even house rules, just different. Like some areas, when you were talking about your character, you would say, my character does this. Other areas, you'd say, I do this. Other areas, they treat it like a war game. They'd say, okay, Grognard is up now, you act. Like just the way, if you didn't go to a con and hear people playing, just the rhythm varied by region. It was amazing.
Yeah, I was running a game in a comic store. This was 2005, 2006. It wasn't that long ago. And a guy came over and, I had a bunch of Dwarven Forge out on the table and minis and stuff like that. And he thought it looked cool and he wanted to give it a try. And so, we're going around the table and declaring actions and things like that. And I had a pointer and I pointed to his miniature dwarf. I said, you're dwarf. And I looked at him and I'm like, what's your character's name? And the guy looked at me and he goes, name? Whoa, I'm not getting deep into this, man. I'm just, I was like having a character name was just like a bridge too far for this guy. That was too weird for him. So yeah, it's gonna take all times. Take all types. But anyway, so you folks out there, the floor is yours. If anybody has any comments, criticisms, negative, nasty, or not, I don't see anything. Favorite dice vendor, Mike? Whose dice do you like the most?
I'm sorry. Was that a question?
That's a question for you. Who's your favorite dice vendor? Whose dice are your go-tos?
It's funny these days because for different things are important. If you want dice that are going to throw square, I'm a Luzaki sharp edge clear guy.
Yes,
because you can see if there's bubbles or not. So nothing rolls as true as those. But the standard Chessex, I use a set of white, a set of gray, and a set of black for everything because I can pick up 3d20 of different types and use those. I don't allow resin dice at my table. They're cute and awesome, but there's a high chance they will not roll true in a big bad way.
And when you say resin dice, do you mean like bespoke, like someone resin printed or
resin cast? So they're going to have
cast. Okay.
They tend to have includes in them. So there'll be things like they're cool dice that mimics in them. They're very neat, but like as a thing to play, I don't care for them.
No, I gotcha. I've got a set of actually I've got two sets of their reproductions of the old Holmes dice. They actually, people don't believe me when I say this. No, Holmes came with chits. Holmes originally came with dice. It came with acrylic dice. So I have two reproduction sets of those razor edges that you'll cut your hands on, and I adore them. They feel so good. They roll so well.
So self-promoting, which I have to get better at. If you go on my YouTube channel, I have an hour-long conversation with Jeff D. Lester Smith about dice. So he's the creator of Dragon Dice. When we talk about dice, one of the topics that comes up is the dice shortage and the use of chits.
Oh, excellent.
Right. Some people don't believe it, and they're like, no, seriously. Sometimes you had to use chits.
Yep,
I used them in study hall because they didn't want us using dice because it looked like gambling.
Right.
So I used the chits for that.
Yeah, I have a home set that's unpunched up there, but I have enough dice that I'm never gonna punch those. But yeah, that was an interesting time. So, but yeah, I'm with you. Sharp edged, nice precision dice. That's my go-to. I do.
They're the big those. Sexy, and I like the crystal ones. They're just, the slightly smoked is technically a little sexier, but just like. They look like glass. I'm totally into those. And there's the Zakihedron, because Luzaki was a maniac. That dude, he claimed he had a formula to make any kind of die. You could make a polyhedral regular out of, like, if you wanted a D34, you could make a D34.
That's so neat. I wish I could have picked some because Gary, of course, tables and charts in AD&D, but he would have charts of 16 or charts of 14 and charts of 18, and nowadays you can just pop open a prompt on just about anything and type roll 1d18 I'm just
Some of the younger people I play with don't know what percentile dice are.
I know, that's so weird. There's these odd arguments that pop up about, no, it's.
And even the dice sets that include the double-digit dice to give you that clean percentile, you tell them, I'll be doing a Pro GM gig on Zoom or on Roll20. I'm like, okay, give me a percentile dice roll. And they look at me blankly. They have no idea what I'm talking about.
Far out.
It's very strange.
All right. Well, we are just about back at the top of the hour, and we've been going for a good couple of hours, Malix. I will, other than the conclusion, I will give you the talking stick. Is there anything you want to wrap up with?
I'm still a big proponent of D&D 5th edition. I like the older editions. I tend not to go back only because my personal GMing rhythm involves skill rolls. So without the make a perception check, I end up kind of lost. But that's more on me and being a old dog with habits than about any underlying quality of the system. I would, if you are of a mind to check out interesting mechanics, or you like post-apocalypse games, or you like games that are not comedy games, because I find that a little painful, but I have a sense of humor. Appreciate if you checked out Nuked. I'm at a lot of conventions. I know my next convention is Gamehole. I'm going to GaryCon again this year. I'm also going to Page. So I'll be at all three of those cons at least. Love to see you. Can sign if you want, throw dice with you, whatever.
All righty. Well, thank you very much, Malix, for joining us tonight. Everybody, a veritable walking museum of TTRPG information, and not just a museum, but a creator of cool stuff too. Thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight, Malix. Please help yourself to the green room and the concession table we have back there.
A little baklava on a napkin is okay.
A little baklava on a napkin, that's fine. Just enjoy. I'll let you slide back there. As for the rest of you mutants, thank you everyone for tuning in tonight. I really appreciate it. I'm going to put all of Mike's information, his YouTube links, his Nuked, all that fun stuff is going down in the description, or you can scroll back through the convo if you don't want to wait the 5 minutes after we wrap tonight for me to do that. But I do appreciate you all being here. I will be back Monday. I have a little recovery plumbing I've got to do for the rest of the evening after I wrap up. And tomorrow, of course, next week, of course, Monday, look ahead. Tuesday, playing AD&D. Wednesday, crossing my fingers and hoping Kyle will want the game, but if not, we'll find some fun stuff to do. Thursday, Doc Flamingo is going to be right here in the studio, and we're going to be talking about Age of Blood and Iron. And then Friday, assuming some fucking plumbing doesn't break again, we're going to be playing some Gamma World. So everybody tune in then, and I look forward to seeing all of you. But until then, I forgot to ask if in Newt Mike has the stats for an owl bear. I guess we'll just have to ask him. Peace, good night, God bless.
Have you seen my owl bear? Here's to all the weirdos everywhere, in the woods and in the air. Have you seen my owl bear? Should I shave off all my hair? Bobs are all around, some live in tunnels underground. Some are fat, some are rich, some are sleeping in a ditch. Can you ride a crooked horse without a saddle, way off course? Naked as a toad, all the way to Smoky Joe's. Have you seen the little creep driving fast in his little green Jeep? He smells like fish and brandy, but his rotten teeth look dandy. Take me to the show, I don't care if fast or slow. From action flicks to dancing dicks, just take me to the show.